Hello and welcome to TSK F1. My name's Rich and this is your daily dose of F1 news. Today we're going to be talking about Nick DeVries and what is going on with him and should he be doing better. Also, Steiner talking about the fact that boredom shouldn't mean rule changes with Formula One. And also, Jame Allison NOT coming back to the Formula One side of Mercedes. Please do make sure you're hitting that like button, guys, and also subscribing to the channel down below. But let's get into it, shall we? First of all, Nick DeVries. I figured a few of you might have a little bit of an opinion on this. I rate him so extremely highly, and I've wanted him to get his chance within Formula One for an extremely long time, and even I will admit that it's just not going very well for him, is it? And DeVries himself has admitted he's under pressure to get up to speed within Formula One, and he admits he's not fully satisfied with his start. He says, "I do see good progress in the last 2 weekends," he told a Dutch publication. "If you're a bit behind, as we are now, sometimes it all just has to fall into place, and it's not always evident that it's going well." And that's inherent to Formula One because of the large platform it is, he says. "Everyone watches, everyone likes it, but it's fine. It's everyone's right, and I respect it. You can't please everyone. You have fans and non-fans, but I believe that with time, it will come our way, and the team and I are working very hard together on that." And it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because honestly, It's a curious one. Am I rating him too highly? I mean, he's won championships elsewhere, has Nick DeVries. And am I rating Yuki Tsunoda lower than I should? I'm not sure. Does the car suit Yuki Tsunoda more? It's a difficult one to answer because I feel like there's pace there. I mean, we saw a flash of it last season in Monza, but this season it's not going right at all. Then again, I suppose it could be that for some reason the AlphaTauri is just suiting Yuki Tsunoda more, because Pierre Gasly hardly set the world alight last season, and people really like Pierre Gasly, don't they? So what do you guys think? Do you think he's going to get better? I'm hoping so. He admits that he'll have to get results soon. He says pressure is always there in this world. As a driver, in whatever category, you're always fighting to survive. The demand for places in motorsport is simply much greater than the supply, so there's always pressure, but it's really no different than in other years. I think there's a driver there. I still think there's a driver there. Good morning, everyone. How you doing? Ian's saying, I hope he does get better, as Feely is a driver with decent pace and consistency. Paul Ladd's just started. He needs a season to get into it. Well, this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem. These days within Formula One, well, I should imagine we definitely see it in British touring car. And Dan, you're more of an authority on World Rally, but definitely within Formula One and BTCC and stuff like that, it doesn't even matter, does it? It's like you don't get a bye season, if you like. You know, you don't get that anymore, do you? There's no chill within Formula One. It's immediate results or nobody wants to know, you know. Not everybody going to be Lewis Hamilton in their rookie season. No, true. I hope DeVries finds his rhythm as the season goes on. Part of the trial is surviving the first season. And I truly feel like there's a driver there that can perform, that can do something. Let's do a little poll. Do you think DeVries will come good? Yes, no. There you go. Ask your community. There you go. have a little vote on that. I'd love to know your opinions on it. Lots of people seem to think that, well, from chat, people seem to be encouraging of him and stuff. This is the thing that's confusing me a little bit, John. Is it that I've been undervaluing Tsunoda? But then again, right, this is kind of the point I was making with Mick Schumacher. When a driver is of a certain age, as in younger, I mean, how old is Tsunoda now, actually, before I start going, Tsunoda, how old is he? 22, right? So Tsunoda's 22. And I was making the point, with Mick Schumacher, you can't quantify their improvement until they actually start doing the races, about 12, yeah. Until they start doing the races, right? Now, Tsunoda, you can you could have said he was underachieving, and he was definitely given, I don't know what you'd call it, marching orders is the wrong thing, but he was definitely under no uncertain terms this season that he had to start delivering to AlphaTauri standards, but Yuki was very much told, this is the season for you to start delivering. And he is 22, right? And I was saying the same with Mick Schumacher. You can't compare them to, say, a Nico Hülkenberg, because Hülkenberg is already established and there, and he's done all of his improvement, There is drivers like Yuki Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, who else would you put in there? Piastri. Lando Norris will be approaching, getting towards that rounded area, so Yuki Tsunoda, he could end up being mega, he could end up being mega. He's had flashes of it, but he's a super hothead, isn't he? He's a super hothead. Just a quick flash poll there. We didn't get that many votes, but there it is for what it's worth. Most people in chat thinking he'll come good. But there we are. Nick DeVries, under pressure to deliver. Now, Steiner has been talking about how sport is the most important thing, and I'll read you the quotes that we've been getting from Gunther Steiner, and he says, oddly, that they must F1 must resist the temptation to react to Red Bull's dominance. And he says the sporting aspect is most important thing to safeguard. And I'm confident that others will catch up with Red Bull sooner or later anyway. I don't think they will have the same margin in the next 20 races. Everyone works hard, and we must never forget that Red Bull received a penalty last year, which will oblige them to have fewer hours of development in the wind tunnel, so theoretically they can't progress that much. Everyone will catch up, try to understand what Red Bull's advantage is, and then copy it or do something similar. And he says boredom is simply not an acceptable reason for changing the rules in order to slow the Red Bull down. They did a fantastic job, and it's not like they should be penalised for this. They just do a better job than the others. So it's right for them to stay in front without the need for regulatory interference. It's not right to interfere just because someone is faster. While I, on the face of it, agree with what he's saying there, this has always been the case in Formula One, hasn't it? You get a successful team, and the regulatory body changes things in order to pull them back, basically. So, whether it's Ferrari back in the day, whether it's been Mercedes, whether it's been Red Bull even in the past, it's part of the game. But then again, what you would tend to find is, as we approach the new regulations being sort of accepted, what you'd normally find is that they look at the dominant team and why they're so successful and sort of take that away a little bit, Now, I kind of agree with him, but we've talked about this a lot on TSK-F1, was the penalty enough? And the only way we're going to find out is later on in the season. Because if the other teams don't catch up, as Steiner is predicting, and I'm not saying they catch up to the point where Red Bull are like 6th and 7th every race. I'm just saying catch up really at all. If the other teams don't, then you can quite confidently say the penalty wasn't enough, right? And that's really what Gunter is banking on, isn't it? By his quotes there, he's banking on the fact that they won't be able to keep their level of upgrades going, you know. But the theoretical penalty coming to fruition is the decider. Exactly. If we're getting to 3/4 of the way through the season and Red Bull is still dominant, then the penalty was nowhere near enough. I think, well, I don't think, I know, even Red Bull fans that were in my chat around that time were saying, you know, that Red Bull should be punished and basically it should be tangible, you know, that it shouldn't just be on paper they were punished. It should be an actual they've been punished situation, you know. And I'm not saying they should come last every race. That isn't what I'm saying. I'm just that you should be able to see it. And Gunter seems to think that we will. Whereas just yesterday, actually, wasn't it? Yesterday, wasn't it? We were on about Vasseur saying it wasn't a penalty, basically. The two teams investigated charge. The two teams improved the most. It's not really that simple, though, is it? It's not that simple, though, because Williams were as well and got fined. And from my understanding, the Aston Martin issue was along the same lines as the Williams one. You know, and Williams aren't winning races, are they? But you know, this is just going to be a slow burner. We're going to find out later in the season, aren't we? I think a lot of people are starting to think the penalty may not have been anywhere near enough. At the moment, I'm in that camp. I feel like it's nowhere near. It's either Red Bull nailed the car and we'll say we were lucky and didn't require wind tunnel time, or we'll say, yeah, exactly. Oh, we nailed it. Yeah. We absolutely nailed it. Now, again, I apologise. It's sort of slow news, obviously, because we're in a massive gap. It's difficult to keep these shows going for 30 minutes in a morning just because there isn't a huge amount of news going on. But I found this quote from Toto Wolff, because there were lots of Mercedes fans not so long ago freaking out about the return of Jame Allison to Mercedes Formula One, and it's not happening. And in fact, Toto Wolff says they're missing someone even more than Jame Allison. And it's a name some of you might know. But he told a Japanese source, basically, that Jame Allison is not involved. He says he plays an active role in discussing the team's long-term strategy, but more recently he's devoted his time to the America's Cup project and other programs aimed at innovation. And he says the 2023 recovery would never be as simple as reuniting with one person. And he says that James remains a very important part of the organisation, but challenges that they are having are not just one person's problem. Though he does say that the team has actually felt the departure of Aldo Costa. Now, that's a name you might have known, a technical chief there at Mercedes, and he says there's no replacement for someone like Aldo. What we have done is split his work among several successors. Aldo was very good at building a succession structure, but it was not a short-term process. It took 2.5 years to shape and adapt the technical department in his absence. So Aldo Costa's actually the big loss that they seem to have suffered at Mercedes. And Aldo Costa went to be a technical boss at Dallara. Did Dallara still make the Haas chassis? It's not all they do, obviously, but they make a lot of different. They make a lot of different cars, don't they, Dallara? But there we are. That is no return for Jame Allison. I just remember a month or two ago, everyone was freaking out because they thought Jame Allison was coming back and that Mercedes were going to win by about 3.5 miles every single race and stuff like that. Whereas Toto Wolff has categorically said he's not involved with Mercedes Formula One. And there we are, really, guys. That is all of the news for this morning. I will be back at 9 in the morning. I'm going to go over on Twitch and drive some pretend racing cars now on my Pit Lanes channel. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you in the morning. Cheers. Bye-bye.